So take us into the show. Particularly want to make sure that we talk about this world that you and the design team are creating. It's a very unusual looking world, and it has, I think, a very surprising soundscape.
Yeah.
So can you take us into your process of creating the production?
I can. I was, and it feels so long ago when it all began. I was working on a staged reading, really, of a new version of Frankenstein when we first started talking, and I was very interested in Mary Shelley at the time, and this is all very preliminary. But so I got very drawn to a kind of Gothic sense of romance initially, and was very interested in the period historically, and also the kind of dark passions and kind of just deeply driven madness and Baroque love that felt part of the Shelley world.
Baroque love.
And by that I mean
Lots of curls.
Exactly.
Overly.
Yeah. We've all experienced it. So initially we started thinking we were kind of very drawn to a Gothic world, and I lead that I say that just as that was where we started, and it also led me to look at Edward Gorey. And that, like, the thing is that because I was also, in reading the play, I, like many people, was very moved by this deep sense of melancholy and sadness and nostalgia, I think, is what I felt most in reading the play. And maybe because of the relationship between siblings, and there was a very strong sense of childhood, which is what led me from Mary Shelley to Edward Gorey. Because I felt like I worried about the Gothic Frankenstein world, because I thought that it would start feeling a bit oppressive to the play. And then but Edward Gorey felt like it brought this sense of Gothic romance with there's something that always feels like childhood about him. I always think about like the ghastly crumb tinies. So this was, and this is a conversation that I lead off with designers about, and so I was thinking a lot about Baroque love and lost childhood, and the other thing that I found very surprising when I reread the play was this sense of you go these two worlds of Orsino's home and Olivia's home, and the first part of the play is spent going back and forth between these two houses, and I was quite initially concerned about how do you go back and forth by these two houses where the households feel so essential, that I then became quite interested in putting one on top of the other. So this is all to lead to the fact of the world that we're in is a big, faded, broken down mansion that once had a glorious, beautiful life in it, but the play, which talks a lot about sickness and of course death, there's a sense that this house contains these people who are living in the midst of decay, and living with a great sense of what once was, and with an a bit of worry about what's to come.
But it's very funny, right?
But it's yeah. And it's true. Yeah.
We are here to sell tickets.
But ultimately, we looked at the early 1800s for clothes, and then but ultimately it just felt not very attractive, and I also have well, that's another story. The fact is, so we ended up in a period that feels kind of Edwardian, late Victorian, in reference historically, because I feel like that's a period for me, and I'll personally, that feels like it has a sense of history, and it feels, because of my upbringing, like it has a lot of, it carries with it a sense of childhood for some reason for me, and so and that led me to think about Great Expectations, frankly, and it made me to think of. I found myself thinking about Olivia as a kind of Miss Havisham, who tries to stop her life at a place where, so that she can kind of just get control of things and figure out how she's going to run this house, and that led us to images of. We started with images of like the Glass Palace in London, of kind of pavilions of these houses that were kind of had big great glass halls that kind of were on the edges of seas, and then frankly we saw some images from a movie of Great Expectations with Anne Bancroft, and there was a beautiful sense of a room that I just thought, like, I wanna be in that room, and that feels like a room that can contain the interior world of the play as well as the exterior world of the play. So that's specifically how we ended up with the house that we're in. But because one of the challenges of the play is that there are very specific scenes indoors and then specific scenes outdoors, and if you don't want to get caught in a place of like we're trundling sets in and out, it's trying to find something that can serve both.
And you'll see, Lynn, too, in the production, and everyone, that one of the things that Drew does from the very first moment of the play is that he has what we might think of as simultaneous action on stage of both households in the same space. And while at the beginning of the play you don't necessarily know that, because you don't know who the characters are that you're looking at necessarily, but you will see that Drew continues that, so that you leave actors in the space from a previous scene, and they stay there while in another scene. So there's simultaneous and overlapping physical action on the stage.